So I don't really talk about this a lot, but when I was when I was younger, I had a lot of shame associated with religious coprolalia. So coprolalia is something that is like taboo, basically. It's a tick. So this was just, it was like using God's name in vain, so a lot of people wouldn't think much, but like I had a very like strong religious belief since from like preschool to elementary school was when they were the strongest, and then later on I'd kind of move away from that. And there was a lot of reasons. This was a big reason. This is in Catholicism, which is known to be very shame-based. And a lot of it was, some of it was said to me, like, just mainly, from my mom, just like, yeah, how, like, it was, like, you weren't supposed to use God's name in vain and stuff. I learned it was, a sin to do it. Like, I wouldn't have a lot, really, too much experiences of, like, I would always ask like a lot of questions, which some people say they got shamed for doing. Just things that trying to like piece together different parts of it if I thought things didn't align, but that, I don't know, like religious teachers were always just happy that I was engaged in talking about it, so I never got anyone saying anything about negatively about that towards me, but some people I know do. But it's just like, yeah, it was like just with this religious coprolalia, it just felt, well, I didn't know what it was, just like why I couldn't stop. But it's like, especially too, if it's something that's so important to me, like, and it is difficult when like you feel like there's a certain part of yourself that just goes against something that you believe in so strongly. It's just so difficult. And like I was in my sister's CCD class once, and it was like I had legit strep throat. I didn't know this at this point, but I would later be diagnosed. But I just went home for like sore throat, feeling nauseous, overall unwell. But I'm in there and I'm like raising my hand like a ton, answering like all the questions. It was kind of like a game, so there are points, but she would be like, okay, does anyone in this class know the answer? So yeah, this is because she's older than me, so I was in CCD class, but yeah, like I knew we weren't learning about this in my class. I knew this from when we were like 3 and 4, I think. So she'd be like, well, how do you know all this? And I'm like, she taught us this, and it's like the most important thing in the world. Like, we're expected to know stuff in school, and like that stuff is pretty pointless, so like of course I'm gonna remember this. And I was like, well, you taught us when we were like 3 and 4, like you read us the stories. And she was kind of like, well, how do you remember that? But yeah, I just remembered it. So, but I was just like, this was so important to me. I was like so happy to be there. But yeah, so but then like when I was like raising my hand and she was trying to call on someone else, and I'd remember, and I'd be like, oh, I'm sick. And she'd be like, oh, I know, your dad's gonna come get you soon. But I was just so excited that I forgot I was sick. But yeah, too, like a lot of like shame associated with it, and just painful memories. It's like a lot of the time when I'm talking about my coprolalia, it's only really to prevent, consequences, or them thinking a certain way because of like these jarring things that can come out of my mouth, which of course worrying about what they're going to think about it just makes it worse. But this like thing about the religious stuff isn't particularly relevant anymore, and I don't feel like it's worth getting into that painful part of my past to talk about with them, especially because I don't think they'd understand. I don't think it would be very helpful to me, so I just don't. But yeah, it's I like don't have those beliefs, so like a lot of the the shameful feelings kind of were residual, but I don't really struggle with that anymore, but it's still a very traumatic and dark part, just like, even like feeling like when I became disillusioned for that and other reasons, just like losing that part, and it's so important to me at the time. It's tough to think about really a lot of the time, but yeah, it still affects me, but I don't feel like there was much of a need to really go into it.